Have you ever been on a family trip where everyone was smiling until you realized you were never meant to be included? Because that's the exact moment my mug slipped from my hand and shattered against the marble hotel floor. Not because I was clumsy, but because the clerk's words hit harder than glass. "I'm sorry, Miss Walker," he said gently, typing again. "I can't find your reservation." At first, I thought it was a mistake. A typo. A glitch. Something easily fixed. But before I could respond, I heard heels clicking closer behind me, slow, deliberate. My sister Rachel. She didn't whisper. She didn't hesitate. She smiled and said loudly, "I only booked rooms for real family." The lobby went quiet. My parents stood a few steps away. My mother adjusted her purse. My father checked his phone. Neither of them turned around. Not one of them defended me. And in that silence, I understood something painful and permanent. This wasn't an oversight. It was planned. I stood there, humiliated, suitcase at my side, strangers pretending not to stare. The clerk waited for my response. Rachel watched, satisfied. I took a deep breath. Because in that moment, standing without a room, without backup, without support, I realized this trip wasn't about vacation anymore. It was about to become something else entirely. Have you ever realized you were the only one in the room who didn't get the memo? Because that's what it felt like as I stood there, frozen, while everyone else seemed strangely prepared for my embarrassment. Rachel didn't even look at me at first. She leaned one manicured hand on the counter and told the clerk, almost cheerfully, that the reservations were correct. That there were only 3 rooms. That there was no mistake. Then she turned to me and tilted her head. "You didn't really think we'd book you one, did you?" I laughed. A short, awkward sound. Not because it was funny, but because my brain was scrambling for a way out of the moment. I looked toward my parents, waiting for someone to jump in. For my mother to say this was cruel. For my father to say it was a misunderstanding. Instead, my mother sighed and said, "Let's not make a scene." My father added, "You're an adult. Figure something out." That was it. No argument. No defense. Just a quiet agreement that I was on my own. The clerk shifted uncomfortably, clearly unsure whose side to be on. People in the lobby pretended to scroll on their phones, but I could feel their curiosity pressing in from every direction. Rachel smiled wider, already enjoying the power of it. And as humiliating as it was to stand there without a room, without support, something else cut deeper. Because in that moment, I realized they weren't just leaving me without a place to sleep. They were testing how small they could make me. And whether I'd accept it. But what I did next wasn't what any of them expected. What do you do when the people who raised you decide you're disposable? Do you argue? Beg? Walk away? Because in that moment, every option flashed through my head, and I chose none of them. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse anyone. I simply turned back to the counter and asked the clerk, very calmly, if there was anywhere nearby with availability. My voice surprised even me. It didn't shake. It didn't crack. It sounded steady. Rachel scoffed behind me. "Good luck," she said. "Everything decent is booked. Guess you'll have to slum it." That word landed hard. Slum it. As if I deserved less. As if this humiliation was somehow appropriate. The clerk hesitated, then glanced at the hotel logo above the desk, the one I'd noticed earlier. A name I knew well. A name connected to months of work I'd poured myself into quietly, without telling anyone in my family. His eyes flicked back to the screen, then to me. "Miss Walker," he said carefully, "would you mind waiting just a moment?" Rachel rolled her eyes. My parents had already started toward the elevators, assuming the situation was finished. Decided. Done. But something in the air had shifted. As I waited, I felt it, that strange calm that arrives right before everything changes. The kind that comes when you stop trying to prove yourself and start letting the truth speak for you. The clerk picked up the phone and made a call. And when he asked for the manager by name, Rachel's smile finally faltered. Because whatever was about to happen, it was already out of my hands and heading straight for them. Have you ever felt that brief moment before something big happens, when you realize your world is about to shift, but you're calm enough to just watch it unfold? Because that's exactly how I felt as the clerk hung up the phone. Rachel stood there, smug, convinced she had won. My parents were already discussing dinner plans, pretending I wasn't even part of the evening anymore. And yet, I knew the truth. They were all about to lose control of everything. The hotel manager, Mr. Langford, appeared moments later, and he was everything the clerk had hinted at: confident, authoritative, and not fazed by my family's sense of entitlement. "Miss Walker," he said, smiling politely, "I apologize for the mix-up with your reservation. It appears that your booking was linked to our company's executive partnership, and we have an arrangement with you." Rachel's jaw dropped. "What do you mean?" she demanded, her voice suddenly shaking. "She's just some—" Mr. Langford cut her off, addressing me now. "Your name is associated with all of tonight's bookings, Miss Walker. The entire event, from the venue to the catering, is under your account." At that, I saw the change in Rachel's face, the realization that she wasn't the one in control anymore. It was me. My parents, overhearing the conversation, stopped dead in their tracks. Their eyes flicked between me and Mr. Langford, a mix of confusion and panic settling in. I could see the wheels turning in their heads, calculating how much they had taken from me, how much I had given them without asking for anything in return. Rachel stammered, You're saying she owns all of this?" "Yes," Mr. Langford confirmed. And then, just as my parents were starting to look at each other nervously, I calmly said, "I'll be canceling the rest of your stay." The room froze. But what happened next, no one could have expected. Have you ever witnessed someone's face when they realize they've just lost everything, and all because they underestimated the wrong person? That was the look on my father's face as he stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing, trying to find the words to salvage this night. My mother's face had drained of all color. Rachel was still trying to process, staring between the manager and me, as if trying to figure out when she had crossed the line from smug winner to someone caught in their own web. "Miss Walker," Mr. Langford continued, "we will begin the process of canceling the event. I'm also happy to assist you with relocating any remaining guests to alternative accommodations." He turned to me, his tone now more deferential. "Is there anything else we can assist you with?" For the first time in my life, I felt what it was like to have everything in my hands. I looked at my parents, who were scrambling to regain control, and then at Rachel, whose attempt to tear me down had backfired spectacularly. Their faces weren't just shocked. They were desperate. They needed me more than I'd ever needed them. "I'm fine," I replied coolly, "but you'll have to sort this out with my family. I'm done playing the supporting role." There was a pause. And then I turned and walked away, heading for the exit, knowing full well that this was the last time I would ever be silenced or underestimated by them. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Uncle Jordan. "Just saw the news. Proud of you. You did the right thing." And as I walked out, leaving them behind in their expensive hotel, one thought kept running through my head. Sometimes, the people who think they're in control are just waiting for someone to take the wheel. Justice, I realized, isn't always loud. Sometimes, it speaks with the silence of someone who's finally had enough.